Hey everyone, Mason the Brock Henderson again, and decided to go back-to-back reviews just so I can get this out of the way before the new episodes tonight. So, first you have Bones, followed immediately by The Blacklist. And this show, I didn't watch the first season at first. I got the first season for Christmas, I think, on DVD and just watched through it, and it got me. Because reading the premise of the show, I was kind of like, okay, this sounds interesting, uh, and it really was. Basically, James Spader's character uh, is an FBI most wanted, turns himself in, and says, "I will give you the names of like over 100 people on my blacklist, but I'll only talk to Elizabeth King, who is this new FBI agent." And of course, comes with several questions being asked of her. She's like, "I have no idea who he is." And the first season just really gripping, mainly because it all connected together. Every episode, it was like it was planned. Um, James Spader's character Red, he had a plan, and so every blacklister they went to get, he needed them for something, and so he used the FBI to find them, and eventually his plan came into effect, and it just all tied together so well, and that's one of the things that I loved about the first season. And I won't. It's on Netflix right now, so I won't spoil it for anybody because it really is a good show. Second season, not as good, still good, but there were a few episodes that just felt like they dragged on a little bit too long. Uh, and it was mainly the first half of the season. It was mainly because Red just seemed like he was on the back foot a lot. And when you have a character like Red, who always seems like he's in control, to have him on the back foot just kind of takes away from it a bit. And not that he's never been on the back foot before. Like you've seen clearly, there's some episodes where he's struggling to keep up because this organization he's going against has so many resources that it's really hard for him to do it all by himself. And of course he has Dembe, his right hand man, not little, big guy. He's just massive. Um, and I'll get to Dembe because he's kind of in a pickle right now, season 3. But you don't like seeing these characters that are supposed to just have everything in control seem like they're not in control. And even the episodes where he's he's struggling, he's still got a confidence about him that you wouldn't see from a normal character. But this character is special. He's in control and he sounds in control. There were a couple episodes though where it felt like he had no idea what to do next. And that kind of bugged me a bit. And maybe that's just a personal thing for me, I don't know. But when you just I want to see a bit of consistency. And that's where the consistency should be, is that it doesn't matter what the situation, he always stays calm. Unless it's time for him to just kill some fools. um, but anyway, that's a nitpick from season 2. Ultimately, it ended up being a really good season near the end, and where they left off, the Cabal, which is like the main evil organization that Red is going against, several people in the government that are a part of the Cabal, and it really interesting ending to season 2. Because first 2 seasons, it was just they had this FBI task force that was following Red's lead. Go get this guy. Okay, we got him. Go get this guy. Okay, we got him. And that was kind of the main thing, but it all was tying together. You saw week after week, Red had a plan, and every time they found one of these blacklisters, he would take something from them, and it was all part of his master plan. It was just getting him closer to his ultimate goal, and that was fun. Um, And so you really weren't sure where they were going with the second season, because the first season it didn't end on a cliffhanger, but it did end with unanswered questions. So you knew they were coming back for a second season. Second season, like I said, not as good, but they end so well because now Elizabeth Keen is on the run too, and that for me just changes the show. And this is something I'll talk about when I go into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the first and second season reviews, is that when a show can change its identity, kind of. Like, this show was originally about FBI task force following Red's order, getting a blacklist, or blacklister, Red, take something from him. It's part of his plan. Then it slowly becomes, you know, this FBI task force is working with Red to fight against the Cabal. Okay, it changed a bit, but it's still the general premise of FBI task force using Red to fight evil. And then she ends up, the Cabal makes her look like a Russian spy because her mom was, and it makes her look like she's working for the KGB. She kills the Secretary of Defense? No. Attorney General? I can't remember what his position was. His name was Tom. But she kills him at the end of the season because he was kind of like he was working with the task force, but he was part of the Cabal. So he did a lot of evil stuff. He convinced, what's his name? Harold. Harold is his first name. I can't remember his last name. But it's the black guy that was heading up the task force. He convinced him that he had like a terminal illness, puts him on this special treatment for this illness, just so he can kind of blackmail him, and that's evil, especially considering that he did it to somebody that he was supposed to be close friends with. And to betray him like that, to convince him he's dying, and then convince him that he's helping him get healed, that's really dark stuff. And man, like I was so glad to see him finally get killed. But anyway, Elizabeth kills him, Tom, and so because she's already been outed as a Russian spy, which she's not, and then she kills him. Harold tells her, run. She's got to run now. And that's kind of where it leaves off, with her and Red running. And this third season has really started off well. My one issue that I've drawn from just the story overall, there have been small issues that nitpicking and stuff that, whatever, I review stuff, I'm going to nitpick sometimes. But my one big issue with all of this is that Wrestler, which if you're watching this and you haven't watched the show for some reason because you're stubborn and don't want to watch stuff, Wrestler's her partner. Before all of this goes down, they were working together, and they kind of developed a bond because, Elizabeth's, I can't remember if he was her fiance or husband, whatever. He turned out to be a spy. Wrestler's wife got killed. And so they were kind of developing even a romantic bond between each other. And he's going so hard to really kind of, I don't even want to say like arrest her. It's like he's convinced that she's bad, even after all that they've been through and all that he knows about the Cabal and what they do and how bad of an organization they are. It's like he's completely convinced that she's a KGB agent and she killed the Attorney General. And I'm sitting here like, dude, you knew that. Like, Harold's sitting there telling you, stop that. Dogs are nasty. You knew, like, Harold's even telling you that this Tom, the Attorney General guy, was evil. Like, he was part of the Cabal, he did evil stuff. don't you hate it when dogs like ruin your reviews? Like you're in the middle of something and then they start fighting with each other, and then you gotta stop them, and now you lose your point of your train of thought, and he's just sitting here like he didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, where was I? Wrestler. So he knows that who she killed was part of the cabal. Harold's already vouched for her, but he's still convinced that she is like betrayed them. And for me, I understand Wrestler, like his character is kind of a pure character, like he any killing at all for him, unless it's, self defense obviously. But just killing him like makes him think that she is evil. And while I get it to a point, same time I'm like, dude, you've known her for how long, and you're so easily tricked. I don't know. That just he's obviously still wrestling with wrestlers wrestling. He's still struggling with his feelings for it, and both Red and Harold are both kind of like, really trust your gut, because your gut's probably telling you what's right. Um, okay. I said that was the only problem I have. I do have one other question. I thought, I think her name's Samar. I know her last name's Navabi. But it's the Middle Eastern girl that's on the team now that took over for Agent Malik when she died the first season. I thought she was kind of on Red's payroll. Like, I thought she was working for Red, and that's why he got her in on the task force. And she's kind of acting like she wants to bring in Red and Elizabeth too. I don't know if that's an act, because she helped Red near the end of the second season, which I'll talk about that later because that was part of season 2. But she's also acting like she was, like she really wants to bring them in, like she doesn't trust them. Like, wasn't she working for Red? Like, is this an act or is this real? So that's a question. I don't know if they'll address that later. So it's not really a problem I have right now. But Wrestler, I do have a problem with how he's acting. Anyway, let's get into it. The first episode was just Elizabeth on the run almost with Red. And it was very interesting to see them not... where all of these TV shows that I've been watching for the past several weeks, most of them, if they ended on some sort of cliffhanger, they picked up several months later. They didn't start right where they left off. So I wonder what they were going to do with the Blacklist. Were they going to, Elizabeth and Red are still on the run several months later, but they got away. They picked up right where they left off. They're on the run, but the FBI is trying to close down the city so they can't get out. They go to this guy who can help them get out, and there creates a bunch of distractions, telling the FBI, calling it a bunch of tips. Hey, I've seen them here. Hey, I've seen them here. And so it's kind of a distraction. Wrestler obviously figures out that where they want the distractions to be, they're heading the opposite way, which wouldn't have been even more clever if they create all these distractions here and then head that way too. So it's like you make them think that you're creating these distractions here just to go here. Well, why not go that way? So I thought that would have been really clever if they did it that way. But they are going the opposite way of the distractions, and the FBI gets there just in time. As Red's crossing, Elizabeth's, the van she's hiding out in, is not yet across the barrier. And she's in a place where if they search the van thoroughly, they'll find her. And so the van kind of goes off down a different road, so Elizabeth's still within the city. And Red kind of calls Wrestler and gives up the guy that was helping them escape. So it's still keeping to the Blacklist, I guess the script of the show, that they're still getting blacklisters. But it was, they're doing it in a clever way now where they're on the run, but it's not, it's a different script altogether. Uh, so that's how that episode ended. There wasn't really a whole lot that happened. Oh wait, of course there is. That's not how it ends. Uh, Keen gets out of the van. They find the van, but she's already gone. And they're trying to figure out, well, where would she go next? And they're thinking, and I'm thinking, well, isn't Tom still in the city? What if he helps her? Tom is not the attorney general guy, her husband, that was a spy. And then they kind of realize that, wait, her mom was a Russian spy. She's heading towards the Russian embassy, and she's able to hop the fence and kind of get taken in, and she's seeking, asylum at the Russian embassy, which was a clever twist. Did not see her doing that. But the rest of the episode, like I said, was pretty much straightforward. They go to this guy for help. He does help them, and in the end, Red gives him up, which I thought was a clever way to keep the soul of the show alive. Next up, what was the next one? I'm trying to remember. I can't. I honestly, this show feels like it's gone on for many episodes because a lot has happened, and some of the episodes happened so quickly that I honestly can't remember. I'm going to take 1 second and kind of look over the episodes. I know this is kind of unorthodox for review, but I'm lazy. I don't do my homework. Blacklist. For now, just enjoy my dogs kind of ruining my review again, so you won't stop talking. But yes. Right, okay. Thought so. So the second episode starts with her inside the Russian embassy. And this is why I could not remember what episode this was, because she starts in the Russian embassy, and they're about to take her to Russia, like take her over to Russia where the Cabal has a trap waiting for her. And of course she doesn't know this. She's just trying to get away from the FBI. And Red kind of figures out from a Russian guy that he knows that the Cabal has a plan waiting for her. And so Red calls up Wrestler and kind of tells him, if she gets on that plane to go to Russia, she's dead. So Wrestler, we engage in this awesome action sequence, which this show is really good at doing action. But they have a little car chase, and Wrestler kind of forces them into one of those, what are they called, the concrete dividers. Elizabeth is in the car. She kills the guy that's working with the Cabal. The driver goes to shoot at Wrestler. She kills the driver just in time. Wrestler goes to get her out of the car. She's already taken off and she's running. And of course, Wrestler loses her. She ends up in a diner, and I think Red told her to meet him there. I don't know how they communicated. They didn't really show that. But that's how the episode starts, with the whole car chase, which I thought that was going to be the main point of the episode from the week before. So that's why this episode just moves so fast that a lot of stuff happens, but it doesn't move so fast that you lose track of what's happening, which I really like, that they can fit so much into one episode, and yet it feels like it works, It feels like you just watched 2 episodes, and it really feels that way. It doesn't feel like you just watched 2 episodes rushed into one. It feels like you just watched 2 whole episodes, and it was only 1 episode. So anyway, that whole car chase takes place. She escapes. She meets Red at a diner, and eventually, somebody calls in a tip that Red and Elizabeth are at the diner. FBI shows up. Red turns it into a hostage negotiation. Obviously has these bizarre orders for his demands. But the one that is important to the episode, he brings in a lawyer who was in jail, which, once again, another interesting twist, a blacklister that's already been captured, and they bring him out of prison. Wait a minute, he was already caught, and you're bringing him out. That's weird. But it's a good twist, because most of the time it's capture this blacklister. This time it's get this blacklister released, and we're gonna use him. But he's using the fulcrum and other stuff. But basically, Red's trying to find out if there is anything that they can use to force the Cabal to kind of drop the charges about Elizabeth's Russian whole KGB stuff. And as he's looking over, one guy that Red kind of threatened at the beginning of the episode, which another from the first season. I know I'm tired. I can't think. I'm stuttering a lot because I can't think. But from the first season, one of the things I loved about it was the Red moments, because he has these moments where he just really kind of shuts somebody up just with his words, and he's intimidating, but not because of his looks. He's just intimidating by his words, the way he sounds, the threats that he makes, and James Spader just really brings a whole lot to the character. He's one of the reasons why I loved Age of Ultron so much, because James Spader as Ultron was just awesome. And, I'm a fan of James Spader, so if that's the only reason why I loved it, I'm okay with that. But anyway, this guy was kind of being a jerk to his girlfriend. James Spader, Red. He shuts him up, kind of gets him to stop being a jerk. And that guy kind of gets some boldness later, sees that Elizabeth's not really paying attention, goes for a gun, they fight, she shoots him, and he's bleeding out, and so they have to move quickly. The FBI decides they're going to go in. Red and Elizabeth, they put all these people into one cooler, and then they go into another one, which turns out to be like an elevator, which leads out to the outside world, so they escape. And in the end, what they kind of end on for that episode is that Elizabeth and Red are on a cargo ship inside of a cargo container. But it's not, it doesn't look like a cargo container when they first show it, so you don't know that's what it is. It has a bar, it has all of this stuff, and then they open it up. It's like, oh, they're in a cargo container. Interesting. And then the next episode is more of them just trying to trying to kind of put a stop to the Cabal's plans. They're going on the offensive now. Because this whole time it's been just run. Now it's like, okay, now they're actually going to do something about the Cabal, which I like. I want to see more of that. So they go, there's this, it's like a crop place. I can't remember what they did. I'm not very good at remembering small details like that. But basically they were looking for some sort of virus that would kill crops in an instant. So pretty much we'd be living in an interstellar world, which nobody wants that. Crops are dying. So they were looking for that virus, and the bad guys are looking for the virus. They're working for the Cabal. So Red goes to kind of stop them. They get off the cargo ship. Their cargo container gets moved, and the FBI knows that's what Red wants, and so that's kind of, they decide that Red wants to stop the Cabal, so we want to stop the Cabal. Our paths will meet along the way. So that's kind of Rustler's, I think, his main thing is that if Red's going after the Cabal, if we go after the Cabal too, we'll get them. We can get two birds with one stone, which is good thought. But this episode, it's not like the second episode, in my opinion, has been the best so far. A lot of action, a lot happened. This one, it was still good. It wasn't as good though, because a lot of the stuff that happens just feels like immaterial almost. Like it's a Cabal operation that they shut down. They stop the guy that's in charge of it. At the end of the episode, Red finds a Cabal agent, and he threatens her into giving him information. I think there are three main points in this episode that are really important. Because Elizabeth, coming off the last episode, has just shot a guy in self-defense. But it hit her hard. In this episode, this guy comes up to Elizabeth and Red in the bar, and Red kind of assumes he's just, some assassin that the Cabal sent, or he's just somebody looking for pay because he sees their faces and he's like, I could get some money for this. He pulls out a gun to shoot them, and Elizabeth shoots him first. It turns out the guy was an undercover detective. And this, I think, I hope it will play in a lot more in the future, because it really, Elizabeth, she was just an FBI agent not that long ago. She had just started, she was a normal person, had a normal husband, and then it all fell apart. And so slowly you've seen her kind of just get more and more frustrated as, things just keep getting worse. Now she's on the run. Now she shot a guy in self-defense. Now she's shot a guy that was a cop that was trying to bring them in. And so, they don't tell us whether or not the cop makes it. No, wait. Yes, they did. He did make it, I think. But basically, Elizabeth's not sure if he's going to make it or not. And it really hits her hard, and I hope that they keep bringing this back, because this can be a very important plot point for her. Because, shooting somebody is not easy. But when you shoot an innocent person who is just trying to do his job, that can really affect you. And it's already starting to affect her. But if the next episode, she just gets on with it or whatever, and she and Red do have a talk that kind of, like, it doesn't solve anything, but you can tell Red's trying to comfort her. That will be very interesting to see what they do in the future with that. Second thing that's really important is wrestlers. I know I said that I don't like how he's acting, but he is starting to come along a little bit, and you can really start to see how he's not 100%, I'm going to track them down. You can see he's really struggling with his decision. One, to let Elizabeth go at the end of season 2 before she killed the Attorney General, and now he's struggling with his decision to chase after her. And he's really trying to think, is this the right thing? Who do I trust? Should I trust her? And obviously Harold is trying to tell him, trust your gut, because I trusted mine when I told her to run. And you can tell that Harold's not a part of the FBI team anymore, which is kind of sad for me, because he's really a good guy, and he did a lot of stuff for them. So I'm sad that he didn't get to keep his job, because unfortunate politics in government and stuff. But I really do like seeing the fact that Wrestler is struggling. And it's not just straightforward as, I'm going to track her down because she killed a guy. He really does wonder, what's the right thing to do? Because it's not ever straightforward in life. And so, hopefully they'll continue to grow upon his character and, have him kind of go back and forth a bit more. Because he's gone from straightforward, I'm gonna track her down and kill it. I'm gonna track her down for killing a guy, to I don't know, should I track her down for killing this guy? And it's just it hasn't been much back and forth. It's just been he's been this for so long. This last episode he was like this, and I want to see a bit more just kind of in the middle, maybe leaning towards one side. The next episode is leaning over here. She just shot an undercover detective, leaning a bit more over here to I gotta track her down. And then next episode, maybe she saves somebody. Now he's over here a bit more. So I don't want to see too much of that. Don't get me wrong. That can get really old really fast. But I do want to see a bit more back and forth instead of just one side, the other side. Back, and that's it. And then finally, the big talking point, probably, not as far as characters, but as far as the plot itself, Tom King has come back. But he first shows himself at the end of the second episode to Wrestler, and they have kind of like an argument this episode. He just wants to help Elizabeth, which makes sense for his character because he kind of, even though he was a spy for Berlin in the first season, for Red in the second season, I still have no idea who his loyalties are to. But, he kind of, he's been back and forth, but didn't. Stop! I don't even want to talk about it. My dogs. Where was I? You keep distracting me. It's annoying and can't just lie down, go to sleep. Tom King. He's been back and forth. You're not sure where his loyalties lie. But the one thing that was made clear in season 2 was that even though he was a spy, his feelings for Elizabeth were real. And that's what I like seeing about him coming back, is that it's more of him. And just him as a person. Not him as a spy, not him as a backstabbing traitor. It's just him as a person. He really does have feelings for Elizabeth. And he wants to help out, even if it means, working kind of with the FBI a little bit. Because he obviously says, the FBI has to stick to the law, but I don't have to. And that's kind of his offer to Wrestler. And, Wrestler obviously being the saint that he is right now, turns him down, says no. But he tells Harold about it, and somehow Harold tracks Tom down, which for me was kind of surprising, and for Tom was surprising. And whenever one of the characters in the show where everything is secrets and spies and all this stuff, whenever a character like Tom is actually surprised by something, it really is kind of surprising. And when you think about Harold and who he is and the fact that, he was just on the FBI team, how did he track Tom down? Like, that's something that I hope maybe they go into. Maybe he has sources or something. But basically, the episode ends with Harold kind of saying, so you want to help her? Is that really what you want? And he kind of recruits Tom in a way. I'm interested to see where they take that story. Man, I've been rambling for a really long time. But for good reason. Season 3 so far is really doing well. They definitely stepped it up. Season 1 was really good. Season 2 kind of dropped off a bit, and now they picked it back up for Season 3. So, I'm interested to see where the season goes. I'm interested to see what the story has, what they have in store for us. Because when you have a show like this where it is all secrets and spies, sometimes it gets a little too secrets and spies. Like, to the point where they're trusting this one person, you're like, he's gonna betray you. Sure enough, he betrays them. And it's like, you don't want to get into too much of a script for the show. You want to change it up a bit. So I'm interested to see what they change up this season. Where is this story with Elizabeth unfolding to? In the end, is she going to be able to get back on the FBI? Is she going to be able to be a part of this task force again? Is there ever going to be a task force again? Or is it all just kind of going to fall apart? And it's going to be more a show just about Elizabeth and Red just, tracking down the Blacklisters to stop the Cabal. So, they have so many options they can do, and I really want to see them really pull something off and make it interesting, not just pull something out of the hat and say, "Here you go, guys," because then it's just too many shows do that nowadays. I don't want to see it again. So yeah, that's Blacklist season 3, episodes 1 through 3 so far. Season 4 of Bones and the Blacklist tonight. We'll get you guys those reviews as soon as I can. It'll be pretty late. I'll do my best. So, do my duty. But I will see you guys at those reviews. Peace out.